I lean on the side that like anything's possible, especially after the revelations of conspiracy theories we've seen come true. That our government is capable of anything. Governments nation or worldwide are capable of anything. But it's really hard to, and I can certainly make an argument and try to convince people that it's true. But I tend to be generally a very open-minded person where I say that could be true, but how do we know for sure? Because I think truth matters and facts matter when you're speaking about something.
Right. You can make the case. And so far, all I've seen is people trying to convince people that there is a motive. There's motive for this guy to have done it too. There's motive for plenty of other people to have done it too, you know? And so proving that someone has a motive or some organization has a motive is not proof of a crime. I need to see some indication that someone was interested in doing this somewhere. And I've only seen that for one guy so far, you know, according to the government. I understand why everyone is doing this, and I think it's in a response to Netanyahu going on like a publicity tour talking about how great of a friend Charlie Kirk was to the nation of Israel.
Like an hour after
yeah, and how supportive he was and how he wrote this letter. And let me read you 2 sentences from the letter that prove how supportive he was of everything that we're doing. And so if you're like...
No, it could just be his way of... Again, it's all plausible. It could be BB's way of just being like, oh man, we lost a great friend and let me prove it to you. And there could be nothing nefarious about it. But also, the opposite could be true. It's pretty strange.
Yeah.
To hop on a national TV show and hold up a letter and read 2 sentences of it and make it about yourself and about Israel. You know, it seems strange. I don't understand. Was he trying to say like Charlie was a martyr for Israel and not America, or America and Israel? And he's trying to garner more support for Israel of America so America keeps sending money. Like it could have been that. It could have just been like, oh, in the wake of Charlie's death, please send us more money so we can keep dropping bombs on Gaza and not have to pay for it.
My most charitable take on this, and it's not very, it's charitable, but it's not super positive, is that in the days after the shooting and still happening right now, think about when Pam Bondi makes that comment about hate speech yesterday. What's the most popular reply to Pam Bondi's comments on hate speech? The most popular reply is, here is a screenshot literally of something that Charlie Kirk said that is completely against what you are saying right now. Like, let me show you this specific thing right now. Charlie Kirk would not be in favor of this one bit. And so I think what happens is you can use Charlie Kirk's assassination and you can talk about his support for the state of Israel in a way to get all of these people on board more so with Israel. Like, you don't want to talk negatively about them. You don't want to flip your support. You don't want to go against them because remember Charlie Kirk. Remember the things that he cared about, of which one of them the most was Israel. And so don't besmirch his legacy by ever thinking about going against what we are doing here in Israel. And I think that's the most likely scenario, is that they're going to use it to basically harden support for everything that they are doing.
The other reason they're responding is that we've just seen over the last, let's say, decade, this unbelievable lying narrative happening from government, from media, from all sorts of things. And you have to remember, we're kind of like a decade into this experience of trying to figure out what the truth is whenever previous institutions we've trusted have lost the trust. And so we're relatively in the infancy stage of trying to really figure out who to trust, how do we trust it.
Let me play this one from Tucker Carlson. These things are important in the idea that people like Netanyahu are trying to use Charlie Kirk's assassination to talk about his great support for Israel and try to harden that support. for all of his people, when there could be, it could be the case that Charlie Kirk's support for Israel was waning, waffling, changing somewhat, maybe flipping. Maybe he wasn't a giant fan of Netanyahu. And that could be the case. And some of his friends here are bringing up him saying things that kind of go against the mainstream idea that he was like the world's biggest Netanyahu or Israel supporter. Here's one from Tucker Carlson.
He did not like Bibi Netanyahu, and he said that to me many times, and he said it to people around him many times. He felt that Bibi Netanyahu was a very destructive force. He was appalled by what was happening in Gaza. He was, above all, resentful that he believed Netanyahu was using the United States to prosecute his wars for the benefit of his country, and that it was shameful and embarrassing and bad for the United States, and he resented it. Didn't hate Netanyahu. He wasn't out there with a placard saying that, but he certainly expressed that to me and a lot of other people. And there's no question that Bibi's defenders on the internet will call me a liar or a kook, but that's a fact. And enough text messages exist that I think it can probably be verified in pretty short order. Not that it needs to be, because that is true. Shortly after that speech, there was a very intense attack on Charlie, and to some extent on me, not that I really noticed. But on him, I have no donors. He had $100 million worth of donors. And so, because he was involved in a different project from just yapping on the internet, which is what I do for a living, he was dependent to a great extent on his donors, of course. It's a nonprofit. And they went after him and tormented him. Not all, of course, many were supportive, but the ones who were offended by my speech, and there was a small, very intense group who were, tormented Charlie Kirk until the day he died.
So that's one of the main clips going around right now. Got a response from Ted Cruz and some other people today. I got to tell you, I'm not the biggest fan of this. Let me tell you some things about this person now that they're dead that they had made the decision not to make public at all. Like, here are some of their. Here's some of our
private
conversations that we
in
had.
Confidence.
And these are things that, like, he specifically, clearly did not want everyone to know about for whatever reason, had not made the decision to talk about these things for whatever reason. And here's what those things are. Now, I'm not saying that that's absolutely wrong to come out and talk about it, because if you see that people are trying to use your friend's death to further their own motives, and you know from your close personal conversations that that's actually not the case, and you think those people are lying right now and trying to use his death to further their own agenda, like, what are you going to do? You would make the decision like, well, I don't think my friend really would like these people out here doing this, you know? And given the conversations I've had with him, this is why I think he wouldn't like that. And there are reasons, by the way, that he wouldn't want to talk about it. Not just because he hadn't made his mind up. Well, he maybe was afraid of losing a whole bunch of his donors. It runs a really big political organization, got a lot of traction, got a lot of people, and you don't want to lose a bunch of your donors by flipping your position or openly talking about something that people don't want you to openly talk about. That could be one of them. Maybe he feared for his life. That could be a thing too. Never know. Never know, really. Ted Cruz responded and said, I'm getting really tired of Tucker and his cronies falsely claiming, quote, Charlie agreed with me that Israel is terrible and the problem in America is all of the damn Jews, end quote. I want to point out that that's
not a quote.
Not a direct quote.
Yeah.
But whatever.
So right away, you can't trust what Ted Cruz is saying. He quotes Tucker without it being a quote.
Yeah. I knew Charlie well, and indeed the very then he goes on to do
what Tucker did.
What Tucker is doing, only he's saying, I'm going to do it, but when I do it, it's true.
Right.
He said, I knew Charlie well, and indeed the very last conversation we had was how deeply concerned he was about the rising toxic wave of anti-Semitism on the right.
Now you can respond to this and say, I knew Charlie well, and indeed the very last conversation we had is that he hated both of you.
Yeah. Was that he was very concerned that Ted Cruz was going to post really stupid stuff on X, and lo and behold, here you go. Here's this thing. Stephen Miller has been out there doing this. Like, well, the last thing I talked to Charlie Kirk about was this thing that I want to do right now.
Yeah.
and how important he thought that was. And Ted Cruz says, well, the last thing we talked about was the thing that I think is the most important for all of you to realize right now.
Yeah. And protects my donors. It protects AIPAC from continuing donations to my campaign.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just a very convenient line of the last thing I talked to Charlie Kirk about was the thing that I think is the most important that I want to do right now.
Well, I mean, but in a way, you could also say that makes sense.
Well, that's what he would talk to them about.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Sure.
'cause he talks.
You guys see how everything can make sense at the same time?
Yeah, because Charlie Kirk talked to multiple people. And of course, what is he going to talk to them about? Well, probably what they've got going on.
Things that are important to them.
There's this whole mantra of like, do your own research. But I think it's true if you have the brain processing power that you should dig in. I can't help but make jokes, you know? You should dig in and try to figure out what the truth is. That's man, that is an adventure in and of itself, is pursuing truth
That's
in
fun.
every situation. And that would be my calling to you out there listening.
And so speaking of that truth, because I know we got to go, I have seen no one
I'm free,
introduce.
by the way.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it got canceled.
Good. I've seen no one introduce into evidence that Israel wanted to take out Charlie Kirk, that they had a plan to take out Charlie Kirk, that anyone had discussed doing this because he had changed his stances on Israel or was about to change his stance on Israel, which actually could have had a pretty large effect. I've seen no documents, statements, text, emails, not even social media posts from the people that he needed to go. And so all I've seen so far is that people like Candace Owens, who I think her heart's in the right place, especially with the loss of her friend, and some of the others, the Ian Carrolls, people like that, are doing a really, really great job of proving that Israel might have had a motive to do it. As I said at the beginning, all of us have to, I would hope, agree that proving that someone has a motive does not mean that they acted on that motive, might not mean that they even recognize that motive exists. You can build a theory of a motive for someone. They might not have even known about it. And so that's not proof of a crime. Tyler Robinson also seemed to have a motive to want to kill Charlie Kirk on his own. Many other people around the country also had a motive to want to do it. And there's only one bit of evidence we're getting so far that points to anyone doing it. And it's decent evidence so far that this person did it. I haven't seen anything that they're connected to Israel, that they got paid by Israel or anything like that.
And also you have to accept the fact we may never know why.
Mm-hmm.
You know?